I want to talk about the politics of abortion. I've talked previously about the immorality of abortion. I've talked about the constitutionality of it. But the left is now warning that if the Supreme Court overturns Roe versus Wade or upholds the Mississippi law, the law that says that no abortions, with very rare exceptions, after 15 weeks, the left is saying that's going to energize us. That's going to fire us up. That's going to bring out the young people. That's going to fire up the suburban moms. That's going to help us to hold on to both the House and the Senate in the midterms next year. Now, this has been a kind of mantra on the left for a while. Here is Representative Ted Lieu. He goes, it's going to be a blue wave next year if the court overturns Roe. Representative Jackie Speier, the country hasn't seen the rage of women speaking out. And however, as strategists, and in this case, Democratic strategists, have taken a closer look at the politics of abortion, they have come to realize, or they're starting to realize, there's an article in Politico about this, that the politics of abortion is not going to cut quite in the way that their rhetoric suggests. First of all, if the Supreme Court overturns Roe, the right will have won a huge victory, probably its first massive victory since Roe itself. And so this could have an energizing influence on the right, spurring it on to other victories. Think about the way, for example, that the Brown decision energized who? It didn't energize the segregationists. It energized the civil rights movement to then push for the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, the Fair Housing Bill. So momentum leads to momentum. The left tried this abortion kind of scare in the Youngkin race in Virginia. Right as McAuliffe was getting into trouble over issues like schools, public schools, he pivoted to Roe versus Wade. Oh, there's a 6-3 majority in the Supreme Court. They're going to overturn Roe versus Wade. And guess what? It turns out it didn't help him at all. It was supposed to be this great motivator that's going to bring suburban moms over to or keep them in the Democratic camp, and that in Virginia did not happen. Going back to 2016, remember Hillary Clinton had made, listen, we've got to save Roe v. Wade. We've got to protect it. She made it one of the centerpieces of her campaign. And after the vote, after Trump won, the post-election data showed that for most voters, this was just not fundamentally important. Only one in 5 voters said, this is critical for me. And guess what? Of those voters who thought abortion was critical, more of them voted pro-life than pro-choice. Similarly, in 2020, the Democrats tried the abortion issue again, but it turned out, again, in post-election data, not to have been a critical decision, really, that helped Biden get over the top. Now, there's an interesting survey just out, and the survey is being somewhat misreported. I'm looking at a headline in The Hill: majority oppose overturning Roe v. Wade. This is kind of the standard headline: majority oppose overturning Roe v. Wade. Interestingly, when you look into the poll, you discover that Roe v. Wade, which essentially allows abortion for all 9 months. Why? Because even though technically Roe v. Wade allows abortion to the point of viability and says that states can regulate abortion after that, they can't regulate abortion if, quote, the life or the health of the mother is at stake. And it's always easy for a woman to say, well, my health is at stake. It doesn't have to be my physical health. It could be my emotional health. So as a matter of fact, Roe means abortion for 36 weeks, for all 9 months. Now, how many Americans support that? As it turns out, 8%. 8%. If you look inside this poll, which shows that, quote, a majority oppose overturning Roe versus Wade, it turns out that 56% of Americans support limiting abortion to exactly the point where the Mississippi law puts it, 15 weeks. So in other words, a majority of Americans appear to be in this position. They think abortion should be allowed in the early months of pregnancy and not allowed in the latter months of pregnancy. Remember that the Mississippi law, which appears to be in some ways a halfway measure, is an overturning of Roe versus Wade. It's an overturning of Roe versus Wade in 2 ways. First, Roe set the limit at viability. And of course, a fetus is generally not viable at 15 weeks. The point of viability is around 22 to 23 weeks. So right there, Roe is essentially obsolete. But second, as I mentioned, Roe really allows abortion for all 9 months. And so any substantive regulation of abortion on the part of the Supreme Court would in fact constitute an overturning of Roe versus Wade.